Hello everyone and happy Earth Day!
Happy Earth Day!
We are so excited from the team at Sustainable Fashion Week to present our Sustainable Fashion Week workshops, aka Slow Fashion Workshops. The day is filled with some really amazing workshops.
Yes.
And also we're making some announcements in the next couple of days, so make sure you watch every single day. It's only 3 days. And what else, Rick? What else?
And we are joining this year with Fashion Week Brooklyn to do, before the workshop, we'll have a runway show with sustainable designers. So check that out and then go right into the workshop.
And actually we are filming right now at
Materials for the Arts.
For the upcycled look, I used a t-shirt, a jacket, a carpet remnant, and a short sleeve sweater. The trim from the jacket was later used in the bra straps. I took apart the jacket and was able to use several fabrics from it. Some fabrics I knew would work better as flower petals that would go on the sweater later. I was excited to see how many possibilities were possible with this really wide variety of fabrics that are not usually used in lingerie. To keep the flower petals neat, I slightly singed them and I hand tacked all the petals and the leaves to the outer layer of the robe. Later I attached the trim to the bralette and also hand sewed all of the flowers onto the panties. There's the side panel from the t-shirt, the trim on the robe, and also the leopard print from the jacket. For the zero waste look, I had to use the entire pair of jeans, a yellow linen look fabric, and also a plaid woven. I decided to take apart the plaid and use the individual yarns instead. I was very careful to keep all the scraps and was able to transform the yarn into trim, which later I braided in macrame style and added to the robe. Some of the pieces were very challenging to use because of the thickness of the denim, but I was very happy that I was able to create a bra that closed in the front and also use the back in the back of the bra, as well as many parts of the jeans within the robe. Here you can see the petals that were used from the yellow fabric, as well as parts of the jeans and the ribbon trim. The yellow fabric was also incorporated into a tie-up detail on the French knickers, and there you can see the back of the front of the jeans and how it encloses. Some of the scraps were made into petals as well, like you can see on the back of the bra. I also made a flower bouquet to make sure I used up every little bit. For the designer's choice, I did a typical look for applause lingerie, which was an upcycled lingerie set, as well as a coordinating robe. The bralette and the panties were originally from a lace dress, and the robe is a combination of a chiffon remnant as well as a textured velvet look.
This is my pencil tube dress, and this is my upcycled look. The white came in the box originally. It was a placemat. The underneath red lining is from the red and purple coat. The brown lining and lacing and the straps were from the plaid coat. This was burlap-ish fabric that was donated to me that someone wanted me to make a mask with, and obviously you can't really breathe the greatest through it. And then this was the polo shirt that was in the box. So this is my zero waste look. The bottom here was the blanket you guys sent me, and the top was the yellow satiny fabric. The bottom is a pencil skirt, the top is a halter tube top. We used the blanket fabric for the mask, and we did a denim scrunchie. This is a denim book bag with denim straps. The bag is also lined inside with denim. We used some of the leftover yellow to make hearts, and we used some of the leftover blankets to make a pouch. So this outfit is made out of an old tablecloth. The skirt is a pleated skirt. The top is a tube top, and we attached a bow on it. The bag is just a basic square bag, and then we have a mask and a scrunchie to match.
I tried to push it on, but it's still stuck in my head. I can't figure out where I'm supposed to be, where I'm supposed to be. Everything is spinning around, I'm getting dizzy now. Is this the aftermath? This is the aftermath. Whoa. So I keep on walking down that boulevard, paying no attention to the pain that's in my heart. Somehow it keeps on getting in. I can't stop myself from falling on the ground again, but the pain jumps in my mind. I keep trying to push it on, but it's still stuck in my head. I can't figure out where I'm supposed to be, where I'm supposed to be. Everything is spinning around, I'm getting dizzy now. Is this the aftermath? This is the aftermath. Whoa.
Hey guys, it's me Maya, and she's my Mura Eka. We're in Soho, New York today to show you guys the 3 looks I made for the contest. So, are you ready, Anika? Yep. Alright, let's do it.
The items for my upcycle project are number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. I decided to use this jacket to make this blouse and the rest of the things to decorate the blouse. First off, in order to create this center front piece, I used the collar and some parts of the sleeves. I forgot to take pictures, but they became small pieces like this. Then I reshaped the body and the sleeves, and the blouse was done. Next, I cut the t-shirt into strips, sewed, flipped, chopped, then ta-da! The rest of the things turned into random shapes, and here's the final look. Now onto the zero waste. I've got number 1, number 2, and number 3. First, I took the pants apart, then created new pattern pieces out of the existing pants. The giant men's jeans turned into women's drop crotch pants. And of course, there are some leftover pieces. I solved the puzzle and gave them a new life as a purse. And this fabric became trims and a pocket, doing the important jobs inside of the pants. Then for this, I decided to separate the colors. I mean this, into this. From here on, I wove them into new fabric. Apparently, this part was very time consuming, and I'm glad that I finished this on time. And here's the result. And these yellow yarns turn into a little strap of the purse. And I am proud to say that nothing was thrown away to complete this project. Last but not least, freestyle. For this project, I wanted to use something that we can find at home and make something unexpected and wearable. So I picked a curtain and a tablecloth. I cut off tons of square pieces out of them and put them together like so to make a new piece of fabric. The grommets of the curtain were used as well to give a unique look to the finished garments. Now let's see what they turn into. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Some of these techniques can be great DIY projects to work on at home. If you try redesigning your own clothes, make sure you share your work with me on Instagram. Happy upcycling!
Sign in.
Hi guys, I'm Jewel, and this is the explanation of my 3 looks. So the first look is my upcycle look. I was inspired by 50s cocktail hour and when women just wore such feminine and elegant things everywhere they went. That said, I made a T-length cocktail dress that has a sweetheart neckline. I really wanted to challenge myself in my pattern making skills and being able to pattern something like that because that was the very first time I did and I'm quite proud of it. However, the way that I made it is I used upholstery fabric to cut out the front panels. The back panels and the back tie was cut out of a different fabric that I got from Joann's. However, the actual sleeves are made out of the rest of the upcycle fabric. So the actual sleeve that hits the arm, that was made out of the Ralph Lauren sport coat, and then the frills were made out of the t-shirt and the other blazer that we were given. Since all of my fabrics were different colors, I knew I wanted to make them very cohesive. So I went through the rigorous process of trying to make it black. The first time I dyed all the fabric and that did not work. I tried it again with more fabric dye and a different fabric dye. Didn't work. So I ended up using fabric dye spray. So what I was able to do is I was able to spray the whole dress as well as the sleeves and everything else to make it all black. And that is how I created my first look. So my second look is my zero waste look. So for that look, I knew I wanted to go for something very preppy, very tennisy because my inspiration was a tennis court. So what I did is I used the first kind of knit fabric that we had and I made the top out of that. Out of the yellow fabric, I made the back as well as part of the darker denim wash jeans that I had. For the skirts, I used the light and dark denim washes and I made godets to where the godets were black and the rest of the skirt was the lighter wash. That said, with the remaining scraps that I had, I made a belly bag. The way that I was able to make the belly bag is through Solvay adhesive sheets. So I was able to put down one sheet of Solvay, use all of my scraps, place them all on there. I was able to design it how I wanted to, and then put another Solvay on top and pin it down. After I pinned it down, I went to the sewing machine, sewed everything through, and then I was able to wash off the Solvay. So after I did that, I had kind of like this patchwork, mishmash, sewn together, quilted together, whatever you want to call it, sheet from all the scraps that I had, and that's how I made the belly bag. So my last look is my freestyle look. And for my freestyle look, I made this pleather mini sculpted dress. For this last look, I really wanted to push myself on my pattern making. It has 8 pieces total, and it was a lot. Being able to make the pattern, and then after making the pattern, contouring it to my body, and then doing the same once I actually had the fabric. So I'm so happy with the finished products and just all of my products in general. So thank you so much for letting me compete in this competition. I had an amazing time. I learned a lot about myself, making clothes, pattern making, all of the above, and I just had an amazing time. So I'm so very thankful to every single person who helped me and got me this far. So thank you so much. Bye.
Hi everyone, my name is Jen Mason and I am the owner of the Urban Sewing Society based in Chicago, Illinois. I'm very excited to come to you and present my 3 looks for the Sustainable Fashion Week Upcycling and Zero Waste Challenge. First, we'll begin with the Zero Waste look. I really enjoyed working with the fabrics provided. In fact, I'm wearing it now, so be sure to check out these fabulous sleeves and the details on the cuff. Enjoy the presentation and the way I styled all the looks at the end.
It first started with a sketch. I visualized what I wanted to create. After receiving my zero waste materials, the pink and blue plaid, the black jeans, and the yellow polyester, I knew I wanted to go with black with pops of muted color for this collection. First, I deconstructed the jeans and draped them on my mannequin. I dyed both the yellow and the plaid fabrics. I was pleased to see that the blue and the pink came through as purple and navy, and I decided to dye the yellow a deep purple. I created a muslin clone from the jeans, and I used that to cut and paste together on my mannequin. After, I went back and I cut the pieces out of the denim and placed them on the dress form. I trimmed the plaid fabric that I had dyed and pulled several threads from the material to create these earrings, the fringe on the clutch, and the fringe on the bottom of the sleeve. I also used the inside of the pocket as well as the zipper from the jeans on the inside of the clutch. Next, on to the upcycle project. I had this gray and plaid jacket, this white ombre t-shirt, along with this green piece of upholstery fabric and this plaid cowboy shirt. I draped the jacket over my dress form, knowing that I wanted it to be a one-shoulder jacket. I then dyed the shirt a dark gray, and I then dried it and pinned it back on my mannequin. Once I pinned it on my mannequin and shaped it up, I put the blazer on top to make sure that the colors blended together well, and they did. I inverted the sleeves and used the cuffs on the shoulder. I then took 2 identical shirts that I thrifted some weeks ago, removed the sleeves from those, and realized that the underarm seams were perfect inseams for pants. I sewed the inseam together, tried it on, and realized I came up with these really cute culottes that I ended up making into a jumper by cutting the gray shirt in half. The way this turned out was amazing. I used the t-shirt for a necklace as well as a belt. I used a piece of upholstery fabric to create this really cute handbag with some leftover handles from a previous bag. I love this look. It has so many options. For the freestyle, I headed over to the thrift store and I came away with 8 pairs of denim jeans. The first pair I used to make this really cute bolero jacket with puff sleeves. I used the belt loops in the back for a design feature. I took the second pair of denim jeans and I created this bustier from a pattern that I had drafted several months ago, and I've been itching to make a bustier. Then with the leftover jeans, I cut each panel of the jeans out. Lay them out on the floor in a circular fashion. I really wanted to make a circular flare skirt with a rugged edge. Once I laid it out, I pinned it together. I put it on myself to see if I liked it. I loved it. Sewed the panels up, put it on my dress form, used one leg of the jeans to make the waistband. The leftover jeans I used to cover this really cute pair of boots that I bought from the thrift store for $3. And I love the way these came out. I created a belt from some vinyl and I put some pearls on it for extra design. I really love the way these designs came out. For me, upcycling is similar to what all of us have been going through over the past year with the challenges that we've faced during COVID. We've essentially had to upcycle our entire lives. We have manipulated and redesigned the way we interact with our families, our friends, our work, and our school. Making these adjustments has pushed us to our limits, and it has forced us to create an environment that works for us, similarly to how upcycling, where you take something and you turn it into something else that is more useful and better suits you. I hope you enjoyed the way I styled these looks. Thanks again, Sustainable Fashion Week.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Rone. I'm the owner of Victoria Grace Fashion, and we are located in Togo, West Africa. We're very close to landfill, which makes me an upcycling designer and someone who is actually concerned about waste. But today I'm speaking to you from an organic farm with beautiful mountains behind us in Agua in Togo. It is an honor to be a judge for Sustainability Fashion Week US Zero Waste Contest. And I'd like to say a huge congratulations to all the finalists and what amazing work that you committed to. Erin Donovan, your petals, they were fabulous, fabulous statement pieces. And it is amazing how you can lend the mind to turn dresses and clothes into just more than dresses and clothes, but also into other things. Jewel Moser, what a great mix. Your enthusiasm and passion, and your determination. The persistence that you put through to get those pieces made is what we all need as designers in order to come up with such amazing pieces. Your belly wrap was a top notch. Candy Furlow, you were so playful in your schoolgirl idea, uncomplicated and very well matching. Maya, classic, wearable, cool, a must-have jeans for all ladies. And as an African, I would say I was proud to see you make that weave. It was truly, truly all your pieces were keepsakes and items that can be used. Jen Mason, you used up everything. You fully accessorized. Your draped jacket, it's going to be seen around. You're going to make jackets something else than jackets. It continued to stay in my mind, and I love those pieces. There will be a following, and most of all, you took me to Vivian Westwood as well, which was so much fun. I'd like to thank you all for what you've done, and I know that as an upcycling designer myself, living near landfill, that if we could see more designers like you, then we would know that no to landfill is something that we can look forward to. Congratulations, you are all winners, and we are very, very happy to be part of this amazing contest. Thank you very much.
Hi, we're Magpies and Peacocks, the nation's only 501c3 nonprofit design house. I'm Ashia Berry.
And I'm Sarah Jane Smith.
Day in and day out, We divert textiles from landfill to disrupt the cycle of waste in the fashion industry, and also to help with the social impact and workforce development problems in the industry. So we're beyond excited to work with our family at Sustainable Fashion Week and to be a part of this wonderful project.
We were really excited to view the body of work. Great job to all the finalists. And we've collected together some of our highlights.
So here we go.
Erin, first of all, I really liked her textures. I like the small seam details and obviously great tailoring.
Yes, we understand lingerie is one of the hardest things to do in the industry. So to have that innovative and creative twist on it really brought a smile to our face.
Then there was Jewel, and really liked the vegan dress specifically because we know how hard it is to work with the vegan leather. The seams are really difficult to do. Also, I love anything with a 1950s inspo.
Yes, when we saw your video, Jewel, we were just simply happy.
Adorable as well, by the way.
Yes.
Jen, great creativity. My God, a beautiful interchangeability and fit on all of that stuff. I like the fitted stuff with the flared pieces. Love those culottes.
Very New York City, very wearable. Truly spoke to the spirit of upcycling, and I loved that you were your model, Jen. You looked absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, Carly, a great attention to all the small scrap usage. Like, love the fact that she did masks and the pockets on the bag, and we all know masks are probably the accessory that's going to stay with us for a little bit. But yeah, great little attentions with the small pieces, I thought.
As a proud member of Generation X, love that you brought the scrunchie back into play.
Oh yeah,
and it was just youthful, and it really lifted our spirits. Great job, Carly.
Then Maya, fantastic aesthetic. I thought really marketable pieces actually. Clearly great construction as well. So, and who doesn't love a reweave?
Yes, a reweave. The first shirt you showed, your things are ready for retail, ready for magpies and peacocks, quite frankly. So, everyone, good luck. We know the hard work it is, as that's what we do all day, every day is upcycle. And very proud of you all, and proud that you are also now part of Sustainable Fashion Week.
And we hope to see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Magpies and peacocks.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Nalene. I am a co-founder of Set Out Tucson, which is a zero-waste store based here in Tucson, Arizona. I am also a judge in this year's Sustainable Fashion Week Zero Waste Contest. All the finalists came up with garments that were both super creative and totally innovative, but also somehow in their own specific ways very unique and signature to each designer's style. So Erin of Applause Lingerie, I loved how fun and whimsical the looks were. I can definitely tell that your expertise is in lingerie because the actual lingerie pieces, the bralettes and the little panties were so beautifully sewn, and the detail work was just incredible. Jewel Moser, I loved the range of looks that were both classy and elegant, but also very fun and fresh and really contemporary. Jen Mason, the Jen Mason looks were so bold and totally avant-garde. I haven't seen anything like them before. And then we had Carly Furlow, whose garments were super youthful and fresh and fun. And then lastly, there was Maya. I loved the freestyle look in particular, especially the fact that she kept the curtain holes in the fabric in that look. I just thought that was so fun and so creative. So I'm sure you'll be hearing who the winner is soon, and I gotta say, it was a really tough decision, and all the finalists should just feel extremely proud of what they've done because it was very impressive, I thought. Have a beautiful and fun Sustainable Fashion Week.
I became a mom in 2018, and that's when I made up my mind to do what I love to do to make a living. I want to be a good example for my son so that he won't be scared of following his own path when he grows up. Winning this contest will be a great beginning of my small sustainable business. It
It will give me confidence in my creative work, and I hope that my victory will empower other people as well and help them believe that it is possible to make things happen regardless of age, gender, ethnicity, or if they have little ones at home or not. I wish everyone health, happiness, and joy of being creative to survive this tough time together.
Lovecraft Intimates. I am super excited to be collabing with Sustainable Fashion Week this time and introducing my workshop. To get started, and a little bit of background about me, I am Francesca, the owner and creator of Lovecraft Intimates, where I make upcycled and repurposed lingerie pieces, as you can see. Super happy to be joining the Sustainable Fashion Week workshop collab. Expose everyone to the creative and wonderful world of repurposing lingerie pieces. I started Lovecraft last May of 2020. We have been open almost 1 year, so super excited and happy about that. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. It's always been a dream to work with Sustainable Fashion Week, and I'm super happy that I get to show everybody how to repurpose pieces that they already have. Eliminating waste is my main goal, so that is the best thing for me. A little bit of backstory: I started Lovecraft last year, like I said, and it has been going great. A lot of people are really into recycled and upcycled intimate apparel. That is why I wanted to present the workshop to you guys today. I will link everything down below, all of the Instagram, all of the website info needs, so that everybody understands and sees where they can buy recycled and repurposed lingerie pieces. Going into something that's a little bit more wearable that I created last spring, summertime, is band tees. Everybody loves band tees. I love band tees. Everybody loves vintage band t-shirts. It was really important to me to get that most everyday wear type of situation going on instead of just making intimate apparel, because I know some of my ladies and men like to wear pieces that aren't just for the bedroom. Pieces that you can wear out and things that can be worn again. I wanted to incorporate some vintage band t-shirts. One that I will be demonstrating and showing you is an easy tutorial, so everybody will be able to do it. It's not going to be hard. Everybody will be able to do it at home. This can be done with any kind of vintage t-shirt. I chose to do band t-shirts just because I had an abundance of them, and I really wanted to get something more edgy and vibey onto the Lovecraft page. So something really fun that I introduced. This is one of my favorites and one of the best sellers. I originally sold this crop top with the ring in the middle as a Guns N' Roses top, and then I got a bunch of feedback and people ordered Led Zeppelin like crazy, Guns N' Roses like crazy, and Motley Crue. I want to show you guys how you can recreate this piece at home, or something that's wearable and can be worn by you and made by you. So keep watching. Jumping right into the workshop, I will be making this crop top with an O-ring in the front. That is fun for spring, summer, so I'm very excited to show you guys, and here we go, we'll jump right into it. The band t-shirt that I will be working with today is a vintage Beatles t-shirt that I found at a local thrift store for $3. $3. You are more than welcome to do this with band t-shirts that you purchase, any t-shirt that you like, or t-shirts that you already have. I could totally see this in like a basic black top or anything similar. It can work. I just have an obsession with band t-shirts, and I think everybody does at this point. That's why I chose to do band t-shirts. The Beatles are one of my favorite bands. Here's this band t-shirt, and I will demonstrate how we are going to run through this. I would like to show you the materials beforehand. Jumping right in, we have this band t-shirt. For sizing wise, you can work with whichever size you are. Depends on your personal preference. I would always say go a size up, just so that way you have some extra leeway room if anything gets a little messy or anything like that. Pick a size that you like, a size that you feel comfortable in, and something that's going to be a little bit more loose and airy. And t-shirt, there we go. Moving on to our next item in our supply list, we are going to be using O-rings. Rings are these little rings. These are actually not little, but you guys can see. I have silver on hand. I purchased mine on Etsy because I use a lot of O-rings with my lingerie. You can find O-rings anywhere. I have sourced O-rings from Joann's, Michaels, to Home Depot hardware stores. You can find O-rings of any size that you would like. Sustainable options that I have for O-rings. These are made in the USA, the ones that I make for my lingerie, so they are special to my heart. You can find pieces from old bikinis. A lot of times have O-rings on them. Keychains, if you want to do something a little bit more grungy. Anything that has a similar O shape. This one is 1.25 inches. I'm gonna make sure you guys see. O-ring that you use does not have to be as big. It can be smaller. I just like it because it definitely holds onto the fabric a lot better. A lot of times if you were gathering the fabric underneath the sewing machine and the ring is too small, it doesn't allow you to sew as properly. For a larger ring. Gotcha. Okay. These babies are a must for this tutorial. Moving into our next pieces that are a little bit more household that you will. We are moving into fabric shears. Mine are glittery. Of course, glittery. We are going into black thread. We don't have any black or white thread on hand. I like to go with the color t-shirt that you have. I'm working with a dark heather gray t-shirt, but I find that the black thread shows up a little bit better for me. I think the black will be good for me. Just showing you one more time. This one was purchased at a local store. It is just an all-purpose thread, something that's a little bit thinner that can be used for all fabrics. If you want to do a contrast color, that's awesome too. Do not feel that you need to go out and buy a thread that's the same exact color. It can be to your liking. Remember, this is for you, so it can be to your liking. Going into something else, we need a little snipper, a little scissor snipper, or at least I have one. You can totally do these little trimmings with the bigger scissor, the fabric scissor, but I prefer to use a smaller one. A little pin magnet, and I have all of my pins on here and all of my little odds and ends. I wanted to give you guys the real deal and not do some video that is not me at all, because this is totally my studio right now. After I just finished up some orders, you will just need little pins. You can use straight pins as well. It's just a little easier for me to grab. You can find them in those little sewing kits. You can also find a lot of stuff in those little sewing kits. We will need a tape measure as well. These are some little odds and ends that you do not need for this specific top that I'm showing you, but that can be added on. Like, I make bodysuits with these band t-shirts, and it's awesome. So this is just eyelet tape. You can buy, I buy mine on Etsy. Like I said, I source mine on Etsy because I do make lingerie. The times when I'm lacing pieces up on the side or in the front, I use this cotton twill tape. Like I said, this is on one of the bodysuits that I make with the vintage t-shirts. This is a piece that we will not be demonstrating today, but something that you can use for yours if you would like. You could even add it on the neckline just as decorative. You do not need to lace it up. It's a really simple sew. You can sew straight on the sides. It's very, very easy to use. So you will need lace-up materials. And what will you use? You will use pieces of spandex threading. Spandex threading is a little bit easier to work with because it does have a stretch. So if you want to make something tighter or looser, it will definitely expand and lengthen to your body. This is what the stack looks like. A bit messy, but you know, girl. And this will be a great addition also if you choose to do your lace-up. Like I said, these two will not be in the video for today, but I wanted to show you some other options and get them out there while we're doing this workshop to give you some other options for you to definitely decorate your new band t-shirt. Moving into additional pieces that you will need for the supply list, you will need a tape measure. Mine just so happens to be pink, but this can also be found in a local store sewing kit or anywhere like at a local Joann's, Michael's, any kind of fabric store, any kind of craft store where you will be able to find a tape measure, because this will be key to how you are going to shape your t-shirt. You will need a sewing machine and thread, like I said, so you will be able to work the sewing machine. This can also be done by hand, but it's going to take a little bit more time. You will need a pen and paper, a pencil in my case. Let's jump into how we are going to measure for this garment. For your measuring tape, you will grab it, and we are going to take some measurements today. We are going to take 2 to 3 measurements depending on your stock. Taking your tape measure, you are going to measure a few measurements, so 3 in total. You are going to take the bust measurement first. So you are going to take your tape measure on the inches side. You are going to wrap it around your subject and take the measurement to make sure. So the measurement that you find where the tape measure levels up, you are going to jot down view. You are then going to take at the point in which you would like this top to stop. Some people like it more cleavage, some people like it a little bit more higher up, so depending on where you stop is depending on where you're going to crop it. With that in mind, this cleavage is running around 13 inches low. But that's something that I'm comfortable with. That's what we are going to go with. So just jot that down. Moving on to the last step that we are going to take for our measurements, we are going to go from your highest shoulder point. Highest shoulder point, which is where your seam is going to be, where it's going to lay. So measure this on your body. We're going to take the tape measure, run it down the apex, which is where your nipple is, and you are going to run this down until where you would like your crop top to stop. On my mannequin right now, it is about 17 inches. Now, going from 17 inches, you are going to go up 3 inches. And that is going to be where your armhole stops. 17 inches is where my crop top is going to stop. Once again, 3 inches up, 14 inches is where my armhole is going to stop. Now this is a more 80s style top. It is a bigger fit. Measuring a 14-inch cutout for your armpit would probably wear something underneath it. The notes are for your reference because we are going to be cutting this garment. You do not want to once cut it and then recut it again. So it is always best if you are second guessing or questioning the fact of cutting it, cut it a little bit larger than what you think because you can always take it in. So keep on watching and here we go. We are going to go by the measurements that we jotted down. This is great to keep handy and just for reference. We are now going to fold the t-shirt in half so there is some symmetry. Now this top can be a little bit more edgy and the pieces do not have to be perfect, but I would like to keep at least the armholes perfect. So this is when you are going to grab your pins. Just as I'm showing, you are going to pin around this piece because we are going to go somewhat inward. We want to match up these pieces as much as we can to try and keep them even so that way when we do the armholes they are an even size. So this is what it would look like. Something like this. Now I'm going to grab your shears, your fabric scissors as I mentioned, and with the armhole measurement that you made, which ours was 14 inches, remember that is what the bottom is going to be, which is 17 inches. It is 3 inches up from your waist. So it's going to be 14 inches for your armhole. Now, we are going to take our tape measure and you are going to measure from the top of your shoulder seam and you are going to measure downward. Right there. So just like that, you are going to now pin right where you're going to stop cutting. Just take a look at it before cutting. Make sure that everything is up and ready. Take your shears. I'm going to move our pin slightly in just so that we do not cut. And you are going to kind of cut out the portion of the arm. Just kind of skim the beetle symbol, but make it a little fun and edgy. Remember, this piece does not have to be perfect. Fill that seam. Okay. So this is the remainder. Remember, do not throw away your scraps. Keep them. You can reuse them. We can add these sleeves onto something else and make it super, super cool. So do not throw away your scraps. Remember to hold on to these, guys. While we still have it pinned down the middle, we want to just take a look at it, go back in and clip, like I just clipped a little piece. So now we are going to unpin. And now what we are going to do, now that we have our armhole done, remember, our bottom inch was 17 inches, our bottom of the crop top. So we are going to measure now 17 inches. And remember to go from the shoulder seam at the top while the garment is laid flat. And let's mark with our pins. Let's mark where the 17 inches is. And I'm along just to make sure that everything is fine. So grab your shears again one more time. And like I'm showing you, get away from extra threads. Like I'm showing you, we are going to cut right here on the 17 inches. Okay, now that we have a cute little muscle tee, cute. Okay, now that we have this, we are going to move on to our cleavage. Cleavage, if you remember, is going to be 13 inches. The top of the collar, 13. So this is where we want to stop cutting. So let's mark it. Make sure that you can see. So I marked it right here, just so that we can see where it's going to be. And this is the technique that you're going to use to make the cleavage even. You're going to take your shirt and you are going to run the shoulder seam to shoulder seam. And you are going to match those guys up, and you are going to pin. Right here, just so that these guys are together. And everything is going to be symmetrical. Same thing with the bottom of the garment, we're going to match it up. Try to lay it as flat as you can. This can be a little bit tricky, but let's try and make it as flat as we can. Now, take that as 13. Now take that 13 inch and let's remark it, just so that we are positive that's where we want to stop. Okay, let's do one more marking of the collar, just to make sure. And we are going to begin to cut our cleavage. Start here with a point and end at the top about an inch in. Take off all of your pins. It's something that has a cleavage in the middle and a small gap right here. This is what you're going to cut in order to place the ring around area. You are going to take your shears and you are going to cut so that you completely separated these two pieces. Completely separated, but you still have the logo and it still looks like a Beatles t-shirt. Again, keep this seam and this seam completely intact. Do not touch those guys. That is not part of this tutorial. I'm going to grab our ring. Like I said before, this ring is 1.25 inches. We're going to take our generous amount of our pins and we are going to take our fabric and wrap it around this ring. As you can see, you're going to wrap it. And it's going to be gathered underneath. It's not going to be the nicest look underneath. This is what it's going to look like underneath, but it's fine. We will clean that up later. So now you are going to take your pins and you are going to pin this around the ring in a gathering motion at a time. So this is what it will look like. It's going to look like before you start to sew. Turn your machine on and get ready to sew. We're now going to take our pinned piece and we are going to take the side that we pinned. Now this is the tricky part. We are going to take the side that we pinned and that is around the ring. So remember, there is a ring inside of here, so do not sew on this ring or your needle will break. Please be careful when you are sewing this piece. We are going to sew about 1/2 inch away from this ring to avoid all of these problems. So you are going to take your piece, starting at this edge where your pins are facing downward, and you are going to line it up just about so that the presser foot is on the other side of the ring to eliminate your needle hitting. You're going to set it at 1, so it's going to be a single stitch. So no worries there. You are going to begin to stitch. Start out with a slow and steady motion just because there are pins and there is a large ring in here. You are going to now remove your pin. Now you are going to hit a back stitch because you want to ensure that the gathers do not leave. So you want to go back and forth. Now that you have the one side taken care of, we are going to remove it from the machine, clip with our small scissors. We're going to clip these threads with our small scissors or our shears, whichever you prefer, and push those threads to the back. You are going to take your fabric shears and trim away all of this excess. And remember, the piece is an edgy piece, so things can have raw edges. Just make them clean, nice raw edges. You are going to take your extras and put that in your scrap pile, and here you go. You have your nice, clean, finished ring front. Now we are going to repeat the same process on the other side. I'm going to skip forward and already pin just so that we see it. Okay, so now that our second side is pinned, I just wanted to do that quickly. We are going to now stitch on this side. So completely pull your other side away, and we are going to do the exact same thing that we just did on this side, to the left side to the right side. Now we have the ring, so let's show it in full effect. We have this ring attached and it's really cute. Thank you everybody for joining into this workshop. My name is Francesca Pasiglione, and again, I am the creator of Lovecraft Intimates. I am super excited to be collabing with Sustainable Fashion Week. Let's take a look, guys, at the final piece that we created. So cute. It is so cute. Full back. So remember, you have full coverage, and this is so cute to wear maybe like a lacy bralette underneath or something simple underneath. Will be super cute. This alone would be nice with a pair of shorts, a skirt. I'm super excited to wear this and to show you guys how to create this. It's such a simple way to dress up any like spring summer wardrobe, so I'm happy that I got this to you guys on time. This is around Earth Day that this will be presented, so I'm so excited and happy to celebrate Earth Day again this year. Remember, all of the scraps that you collected when you were disposing of the extra material from the t-shirt, do not throw these guys away. Save them, repurpose them. There's so many ways on Pinterest and different ways to recycle fabric and reuse. The purpose of this workshop is to make your old vintage t-shirts, be it that they are band t-shirts or not make them hit the landfill, and repurpose them before they hit the landfill. So this guy is something that we saved from a thrift store that we recreated into something that we can now wear again, because I am super excited and so happy to present this to you. I'm so happy, guys. Thank you so much, Sustainable Fashion Week, for allowing me to participate in this workshop, and I hope you guys love it and everybody enjoyed. So I can't wait to see you in either Lovecraft reworked band t-shirts, be it Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, whatever, Motley Crue, whatever band you want. I can't wait to see you guys in the Lovecraft versions, and I cannot wait to see you guys make your own. Do link a tag below. Whatever you guys recreate, if it is my bodysuits, my crop tops, anything similar, I want you guys to tag me in it. Be sure to tag me in. My name is Francesca, again, the creator of Lovecraft Intimates, and it is a super pleasure to be part of the Sustainable Fashion Week workshop this year. So happy Earth Day to all of you. I hope this workshop was beneficial and you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you get to wear your new pieces out. Cannot wait to see. I love you guys, and I hope and I cannot wait to see you guys make your creations.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Memory Ornament Workshop. My name is Madison Palamichael Klein, and I'm the designer and founder of Memoir Design Studio. I started Memoir Design Studio 2 years ago now. One day when I was going through my grandfather's clothing, he passed away in 2017 and we were extremely close. And I was finding that I kept going into his closet just to like feel the essence of him, like feel that he's still around. And one day, you know, we were starting to go through his clothing. It was hard. I knew that like there were certain shirts that I wanted to keep, and my grandpa, you know, had been wearing the same shirts my entire life. So these garments, you know, were stained, they were ripped. I still didn't want to just see them thrown out. So then I just decided to start playing with them, building color stories, seeing how I could wear them. And slowly I started getting compliments, so that kind of gave me the idea that I could upcycle them more into new designs and create things like the ornaments that we're going to make today that I could also share with family members. At Memoir Design Studio, we work through donations where you can box up and send us your pre-loved items of a loved one that's passed away. We'll send you a prepaid postage label, super easy, and then we'll take those garments and recreate them, redesign them, and resell them to our conscious consumers. Or our second service is doing custom designs where you can send in, you know, a specific shirt that you want to be able to wear yourself that we can recreate into a brand new design, one-of-a-kind piece for you. Or we also can do custom ornaments like the ones we're making today, teddy bears, pillows. We'll have a consultation and we can, you know, help you figure out a way to remember your loved one through any piece of their wardrobe. Today we are going to walk you through how to make our little star ornament that will be upcycled out of one of your loved one's garments. Making the ornaments, you know, came about this Christmas. I decided that it would be a great gift to give back to my family and friends. So it became a zero waste project where, you know, I didn't want to go buy all of the stuffing that you have to put inside that bad for the environment. So I was just using the scrap fabrics from cutting the ornaments out, or I'll take more of that same garment and cut up the pieces to stuff it. So in the end, the whole garment gets used. There's, I don't use the trims, I don't use buttons or zippers while stuffing, but the whole garment gets used, putting into the ornament, and then you have, a gift that you can cherish forever, your family can cherish, you can share with whoever you want. Let's go over the supply list that we provided for you. All you need is the garment of a loved one that's passed away. The fabrications that seem to work best are a fleece, denim, something that doesn't have a lot of stretch to it. Woven fabrics are good. And then you're gonna need thread that matches. You'll need a pair of scissors, your sewing machine. This one was my mother's in the 90s. Hand sewing needle, the star pattern that hopefully you were able to print and cut out already. So we have our star pattern. Then a ribbon of your choice, 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch works best. Pins, your marking pen, and an iron, and then a ruler or sewing gauge. So here we have one of my grandfather's shirts that I will be using today to show you how to make the ornaments. You can see it's a little bit cut up already. It looks like a shirt. I've been making star ornaments out of this already for family members over the year. Really the idea is that you can make as many ornaments as you can out of it, cut off the trims, and then the rest, any scrap fabrics, will be used as the stuffing. And then if we feel like we are running out of stuffing, you can make more by cutting this into small pieces. So I will walk you through exactly how we do that, and yeah. After you iron the shirt, we're going to take it, and I'm just going to unbutton it so that we can really lay out all of the fabric. And we're going to lay out the part where we want to start cutting out ornaments from. So once you get a nice flat surface, take the pattern, and I like to lay it out kind of following the line of the plaid here. Really, to me, it's just about getting the maximum amount of ornaments out of the garment that you can. Take your fabric marker, and you're just going to start to trace around your pattern. I'm using a Sharpie just because of the fabric that I have, but you can use chalk, you can use an actual fabric pen. Any mark that you make is going to end up being put into the seam allowance anyways. And then two, if you want to mark the notches as you trace, you can do that. Or I can show you too how you can clip them once we cut it out. So for one ornament, you're going to need 2 of the patterns. See here how I'm trying to use as much of the fabric as I can in order to, get the spacing where we'll have less scraps in the end. Really, you can cut out as many of the ornaments as you want, and again, the whole idea is that the rest of the shirt is going to become the stuffing in the end. So yeah. Voila. So next you're going to cut out following the line. And then just make sure that any piece of scrap fabric that you use, you set to the side because we are going to need that later. Cutting out cute ornaments so that we can see and love and cherish those people in our life. These make great Christmas presents, birthday gifts, or even just, if you have recently had somebody pass and you just want to kind of give that special gift to brighten somebody's day. These are also a great way to do that. There's one completely cut. I even recently made a set of ornaments for a friend who lost one of her friends due to COVID. And she had one of the girls' dresses and wanted ornaments made to give to the girl's entire family. So we were able to make really cute heart ornaments for them. Just trim around. Okay, so then once you have your front and your back pieces cut out, I like to take the pattern and just lay it on top. Make sure that, there aren't any crazy issues where you need to trim it down more. If you do see that there's more fabric on one little piece than the other, I just kind of like to retrace the pattern so that you get it to be a little bit closer. And then you will just go ahead and trim that little section. So do that to both of them. This one looks pretty good, but we just want to clean up those little lines. And then we'll take the normal scissors and just give a little notch where I drew. Make sure that the notch isn't too deep. You don't want it to go into the seam allowance. It's just a little clipping to indicate where you're at, where you want to be. Remember the markings to know where to place the ribbon and where to start and stop sewing. I also like notching right here. That way when we're sewing, you can still perfect with the sewing machine the little deep corner of the star and then perfect the curve along here. So that's why I like to choose this little section of the star where we will stuff. Once that's done, you're going to take the two sides and you are going to lay the right sides facing each other, just like so. And then just do a general pinning all the way around. And then once we pin the star together, I'm going to show you kind of how to insert the ribbon. So you want to make sure you add the ribbon before you start sewing so that it's actually held within the seam. I also like making the pins facing out. So once you have it all pinned, just make sure that you find that little notch at the top so you know where the top of the star is. You can see here. Then you are going to want to take your ribbon and measure out a piece that is 7 inches total in length. You can kind of eyeball it a little bit. I like to have it where there's about 1 inch that will be on the inside of the ornament and then a 2.5 inch loop on the outside. So once you have your piece of ribbon, you just fold it together, and then where you made the notch and the pins, and you'll just kind of stuff it on the inside, trying to make sure that it's, you know, staying in line with the center and won't end up in any of your seam allowance. And then you can take the 2 edges, again, kind of measure about 1 inch out, line them up over top of the notch, and then place a pin that will be easy to pull out later. Then once that's there, I also like to give it a little crisscross pinning just to keep it in place. Okay, so now we're going to sew the ornament. So we're going to start, so where that bottom notch is where you're going to want to start. So it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So for me, it's about at the edge of the silver foot. So I'm going to put my foot down. I have my stitch length set to 2.5, and then we're just going to give it a couple stitches, a couple back stitches, come around. So the key here is to start off making sure that this bottom part of the star has a nice curve. So we do a few stitches, and then we turn it so that the foot is following along. So we'll do a few stitches and we'll turn. And then when you get close to your pin, that's when you'll want to remove it. And then we'll do a few stitches, turn, a few stitches, turn. And when I turn, I like to lift the foot because it makes it easier to get a nice clean turn. And then as you come to the inner point of the star, I like to take it slow so that way you can then check and kind of turn and make sure that you're in line. When it looks good, you can keep continuing around. So we go straight here with this edge. And again, when the curve starts to come up, lift and turn. So a few spots, lift, turn, remove your pin, preferably before your needle goes over it. You don't want to break the sewing machine's needle or make it so that the pin flies out and cuts you. Lift and turn, make sure that everything is flat. Come around, remove your pin. And so here too, where we're getting kind of close to the ribbon, you can kind of feel it in there. So again, just make sure that it hasn't somehow flown over to the side. Come around. When you think you're getting close, check. You can kind of see here that I'm not close enough to the middle, so I'm going to go 1 more stitch or 2. Come around, flip, go down a straight line. And then here, this is where you want to make sure that you're keeping the ribbon in line with the top of the star. So to remove the pin slowly as you come around. Turn, turn, and then right here, this is when you'll want to remove that first pin because your presser foot is keeping the ribbon in place, and you'll come through, and then once you've crossed it, that's when it's a good point to start turning again. Take out your last pin. Take out your pins. Check where you're at. And then one more. Turn. Take out your pin. And then here's where you're getting close to where you started. So you'll come down to that corner. Again, check, make sure you like where you're at. Again, I don't know why I always stop one too soon, so come back. And then here you're just going to sew a little bit into that first notch. You really want to make sure that you don't go too deep so your hole's too tiny. It's just going to make it harder when you try to stuff it and when you have to flip it inside out. So really, I'd go about 4 steps and then back stitch there. Lift up your foot, pull it out, and then you'll trim away all your threads. Trim away all your threads. After you finish sewing, you're going to want to trim your corners up to the thread, but don't cut through the stitch. This is just going to help give your star a nice sharp point there. And I like to do this before I trim around the seam allowance. I just think that it's a little bit easier to control, and that way you really don't cut through the thread. My scissors need sharpened, I think. So cut up to those edges. And then once that's done, I'm taking my painting shears again, just personal preference, and I'm going to trim around the seam allowance. I don't trim the seam allowance at the opening just because sometimes you'll get a little bit of unraveling as you stuff. And then here I don't trim the ribbon just to make sure that it stays, but I'll lift up the edge and I will trim the seam allowance around it. So starting down here at the edge, I'm just going to take off a little bit of the extra fabric. But really, this is just you getting a head start on making stuffing for the ornaments. Because we are going to keep all of these little pieces, and the little scraps like this are my personal favorite. So again, I just kind of take off around the ribbon. And again, stopping before the opening. Look at that beautiful stuffing. And here you go, nice and trimmed up. So next we're going to flip it inside out. So just take your opening and just slowly start to turn it inside out. My favorite part is when you find the little ribbon popping through and give it a little pull. Boop. So you just want to make sure that you press out all of your corners of the star. Find them, flip them through. I like to give it a little nice happy roll, a little massage on the star. That way you can kind of roll out the seams, see it all coming to life. You can also take a pencil or some type of utensil if you need help pressing out the corners, or if you have, you know, one of the tools that helps reverse things, you could use that too. But it should be pretty simple. You can just kind of get your fingers in there, roll it out. And then here you'll see where the little opening is, and that is where we will stuff it at. And there you go, a little star. So once you're done sewing it and you've turned it inside out, then you just want to take it over to your iron, give it a quick press. I just like to do it so that way, you know, you really get the seams nice and rolled through. And now we are going to take all of the scraps from cutting out our ornaments, as well as, you know, we can always add more from the garment as we go. But first we're just going to take all of the scraps that we have and just start making even tinier pieces with any of the bigger guys. So we'll start with this little pile that we've made here first. So take your ornament, the opening, and you're just literally going to take the pieces and start pushing them through the hole. Then once you start getting in, you know, a certain amount, I like to just start moving it to the top of each point of the star so that you can really see how much more you need and space it out. So then again, just kind of move it along where you want it to be. But as you can see, we still need some more, so let's make some more stuffing. I'm going to take specifically right now from the shirt, like this whole little front section, just because there's not much space that I could even make an ornament out of. So I'm gonna start with that. So I'm just literally going to take it for this ornament and cut off the top. And then there's buttons on it, so I'm literally just going to remove the buttons so that those don't end up in the star, but I will save them and keep them on the side for future projects. So once it's feeling pretty stuffed, you can kind of squish it around, make sure that it's all evenly dispersed. And then you'll just want to make sure that you're still remembering to fill up this inside of the star's point. So even though you have the hole there and some of it might be poking out, just really shove it in there. And right now, like, it's okay that I still have some scraps left because I still have so much more of the garment to continue to make ornaments out of. But this is kind of why I like to do it in stages where I'll make a few, stuff them, make a few, stuff them, just so that I'm making sure that I am utilizing everything that I can and nothing goes to waste. All right, so once he's pretty well stuffed, see how this corner looks? You just give it a fold right where the seam allowance is. Make sure all raw edges are turned under. Take one of your pins and just stick it through, and then this is where we will do a little bit of hand sewing. Here's your little guy. So next we're going to hand stitch this little opening closed. I always like to start at this end of the ornament because I find that the thread gets wrapped around this side if you start from here too much as you're going. So we'll start from this end, but first we're going to thread our needle. So for this, I like to use a thinner needle. I'll take one out of my little box here. There you go. And if you already have thread attached to the sewing machine that matches, just take a decently long piece of that. So just thread it through pull it all the way down. I like to do it where it's doubled. Then at the end, an easy way to knot it. Sorry, my hands are turning blue from the marker in the fabric. Just take your finger, give the thread a wrap around, roll it. You're gonna roll it off your finger and then pull, and then that's gonna give you a nice secure knot at the end of the thread. Just a quick little way to thread your needle. Then next, I'm gonna turn it this way just to start. I'm gonna take this and actually put it through a little bit where the stitching still is. And then you are going to turn it back to this side. And then just go right along that little folded edge. So come on one side, make sure that you don't get any knots at the bottom, pull it through, and then do the same to the other side. And you really only need to grab about that much of the fabric when you're doing this. And pull it through. Sometimes I like to guide it with my other finger. And you're just gonna close that up. If you're comfortable with it, sometimes I'll, at this point, take the pin out and just kind of keep it closed with my other hand. While you're doing it, if you do get any little pieces that start to pop through of the edge of the fabric, just push them back down and then keep going. Nope. See, you gotta be careful. You don't want that to get caught around the edge. And once you get to the last spot, you're just going to want to tie a knot. There's kind of two ways you can do this. You can either just run it through twice. I like to run it through, and then when it gets a little bit smaller, you go through both pieces of the thread. Make sure that it is there, and then just pull it tight so you get a nice tight knot. You can even just give it one more stitch through just to be sure that it's nice and tight in there. Again, making sure your thread doesn't get tangled is key. Once you're done with that, snip it and give it a little fluff love. Your perfect little star ornament, for me, made out of my grandpa's shirt that you can hang in your car, hang in your bedroom, gift to family members, and cherish forever. You can, keep it as is if you like the simplicity of it. You can also jazz it up however you want. One option is to get little photo frames. I had a sketch done of my grandfather that I just printed out on paper and then bought these little photo frames from any craft store. You glue the picture in and then you can easily, add a little charm that hangs along the ornament. Tie it in a bow around it like so. That's one option. Another option is any other type of, decorative trim, bells, beads that you have. Maybe you even have a piece of jewelry that belongs to the person that you lost that you want to tie around it. Make pom-poms, but then just one more little detail to just make it special any way that you wish. Thank you so much for joining us today to make your Memory Star ornament. I hope you enjoyed the class. Let us know if you have any questions. You can follow us on Instagram at Memoir Design Studio. Send your before and after images and tag Sustainable Fashion Week as well as our account. You can also visit our website at memoirdesignstudio.com. Yeah, thank you so much. I really hope you enjoy and share your photos with us. Want to do it again? Let's do it again.
When all my broken sneakers started to pile up in the wardrobe, I realized that we have a problem. Sneakers are made from plastics, and plastic is not mendable. My name is Filip, and I'm one of the founders of Our Choice Fashion. How many times did this happen to you? How can eco sneakers save the world when they break after only a few months and we have to buy pair after pair that breaks? We are here to give you the solution, a choice for truly sustainable fashion in the world's first circular sneakers. On average, we all buy 3 pairs of sneakers each and every year. This adds up to 25 billion sneakers per year, of which most end up in landfills. This adds up to 350 million tons of CO2 emissions, the same amount as for the country of Italy or the state of California. So we started to develop a product that would have all the old-fashioned qualities. It is mendable, it has a classic design, and it has a natural comfort. Because we chose the best designer there is, Mother Nature. The sneakers get more and more comfortable the more you wear them. Made from vegetable tan leather and natural latex from the rubber tree, the sneakers are both sustainable and comfortable. These sneakers are made from pure raw materials that are both fully biodegradable and fully recyclable. The best thing here really is that when your sneakers need an upgrade, you just send them right back to us using the same bag that you got them delivered in. We then resole your sneakers, put on a fresh pair of laces, and give them a nice new polish. This means that you can wear your sneakers for many years to come. Our sneakers are more than sneakers. They are a circular function, and we developed a smart pull for you to step into your sneakers without stepping down the heel. This means that you get a truly sustainable grip. We've got a fully circular business model, and that's why we'll only produce sneakers on your demand. Book your product now and get that sustainable grip at a discount. We've been on this amazing journey for 2 years, and now we're inviting you to also make a choice for truly sustainable fashion. Try the world's first circular sneakers, 100% plastic-free, and I can promise you that our choice will be your companion for many years to come.
Hi, welcome to C Mota Studio. Before we get started, I'd love to just tell you a little bit about what we do here. We are a design studio that's focused on responsible design that's ethically produced. Most of what we create here is clothing and accessories and home furnishings using vintage, dead stock, curated secondhand garments and textiles. We also do some small batch production locally using only sustainable fibers, much of which is organic cotton and hemp. But today, we hope to inspire you with some creative ideas and instruction on how you can restore and renew what you already own. These are usually our favorite things that we don't want to part with, and they need some mending or some extra love, or, in some cases, they need to be freshened up in some way. And it's really great to kind of be the designer of that process of your garment's next life. That's kind of exciting. Be sure to download the PDF for some great visuals to follow along, and you'll have them for future reference. And please, please, please keep in mind, there is no right or wrong way to mend. Everything goes. Appreciate the beauty of the imperfection and let that mend become a focal point. So have some fun. It's a great activity to share and inspire others to do the same. Hi, welcome to C Mota Studio. I'm Carla Mota.
I'm Gabriel.
I'm Nikita.
And today we're going to do inspired mending. And by inspired mending, we really want to drive the idea that mending can really become a focal point of your item's next life, and you can be creative in so many different ways to create some really fun and exciting things. We have a lot of materials here and a lot of different methods to share with you, and we're going to take you through one by one. Before we get started, we'll talk about what materials you'll need. And again, I really want to emphasize that many things you probably have just around the house. Of course, this is a design studio and I have so many things. But I want to encourage you to really be resourceful and just try to use what you have. So this is embroidery floss, and this is a DMC. These come in these strands, and they're actually 6 strands in one. So you're able to separate them depending on how thick you want your thread to be and what it is, what type of effect you're getting. And as we go through some of the things that we're doing, you'll get to see the different effects. So it's really great to have nice color. I use a lot of this indigo thread, which is actual indigo cotton thread. It's probably a poly core. But this is a very heavy gauge and it gives a really nice effect as well. Just whatever swatches you have, it could be old clothing that you're not using, or rags or things around the house. These are just fabrics I have from previous projects that I always keep around to utilize for mending or for some other creative things. The embroidery hoops are super helpful to help contain what it is you're doing and keep it as like a taut surface. And the way you would utilize this is to actually put it across the top of the smaller hoop, and then you put the larger hoop on top of it, and then you can pull out what it is that how you want it to be. And it just gives you a nice ability to really work within here and hold it so that you don't get a lot of puckering. Not absolutely necessary. I mend a lot of times in small, tight places that I can't get to on these embroidery hoops, so I just do them by hand, as I did on the denim. But you'll get to see that later in the program too. Yeah, that's it. So whatever you have, use it. That's the message.
Hi everyone. So today we're going to do a mending exercise. My name's Gabriel, and today I'm going to show you how to repair common tears like this, like in this t-shirt. And yeah, so I'm going to be using this embroidery loop to kind of secure it in, and then what I'm going to do is finish the edges and then work back in to secure a patch of another fabric. you want to use something that usually holds the same weight so it stays consistent. And I'm also going to be showing you guys how to, cover up stains with stuff like this. I'm going to be doing this thing where I highlight the edges with like a chain stitch, and then I'll work back into those as well. And yeah, this is just to show, that you can always go back in and fix the stuff. You don't always got to buy new stuff, or, a lot of the times it's your favorite things that get messed up the most. So just to show you that you can keep them on.
Hey guys, I'm Nikita and I'm going to be mending this crop top, and it's got this beautiful lace back, but it's got this tear right here, and I'm going to be using needle weaving to mend this. I'm going to use brown and green threads. Brown just because it matches, and green to give it a little bit of contrast and have fun with it, so that it's actually a focal point in the lace and not just camouflaging into it, and it's a statement.
From here, I secured it with the hole, with the embroidery loop, with the knit underlay. And the first thing I did was I folded over the edges and then just kind of finished it with the blue. And now what I'm doing is I'm just going in and out across so that it secures it. And this is the running stitch. So yeah, it's just as simple as going in and back out. And from here, you just correctly space it. Try to be consistent with your spacing. And then you start a new row, just like that. And I always just try to make sure I'm lining up straight, and I, just imagine the metallic needle is going to be the color of the thread. So you can see it's somewhat lined up. So here you are, I finished preparing this hole in the t-shirt. What I first did is I went around the edges with the blue embroidery thread, just clean finishing the edges. I left the rib how it was though, and then I embroidery hooped in this brown knit, and then I went ahead and did a running stitch of the gold thread to further secure it in. And then I simply just tied off the edges of the thread and knotted them.
So I finished my mending for this crop top, and I just wanted to show you all what I did. I actually made it into kind of a leaf, and I took the warp in, and you go under and you take the weft and you interlace it. And because the thread is a little more thicker than the thread of the lace, it almost gives it an effect like how the motifs are in the lace. And I just continued doing that in all different parts. Over here my warp is brown and the weft is green. Here my warp is green and the weft is brown. Here both of it is just brown. Here both of it is just green. So yeah, just had some fun. That's how it looks, guys. So this is just another example of needle weaving, and you can see it more clearly over here where the thread goes as a warp and a weft and it's interlaced. Here you see that the hole is actually, you can still see through it, whereas in the other one the hole was entirely sealed. And this is more random. but it's almost like raindrops.
This is the next project I'm doing. The goal here is to cover up these paint stains I have. So I secured it with the embroidery loop, and I'm going to go in with the thread and do a chain stitch around the edges, and then do another stitch to fill them in.
And this is my next project. It's a skirt, and it has a tear. It's a winter skirt, and I'm just going to take a piece of camouflage denim and go under, and then go over the hole like a eye hole, and just bend it.
Yeah, so here's an example of how covering the stains with embroidery came out. Here's the example of a chain stitch that went along the outside, and when I came to the point where I started, I did a smaller shape on the inside and it filled it out nicely. And then just to finish it all together, I knotted all the ends together. And here's another example of that. And for this one, I twisted together 2 colors and just did a running stitch on the outside and did another one in the gaps in between it. I think it came out nicely. And yeah, you can really get inspired with this, even just make any shape you want. It doesn't have to be for your accidents only. And then another example of a mending. This is done with the whip stitch with a patch underneath. And you can see how you do the job of securing the end while attaching a patch at the same time.
That I had, but what I'm seeing is I've just done it in the warp, and now I want to do it in the weft. Sorry, is that the warp weft? Left, right. I did it in the weft, and now I want to do it in the warp, right? So I've only stitched across, and now I'm going to go back in and stitch up and down. What I like to use is I have a very heavy text indigo thread, because it's really lovely the way it washes down, just like our indigo does. And this is a 105 text thread. And what I'm going to do is go up and down like this, but I'll actually get that started and we'll take another shot of it perhaps.
And I got done with my skirt, and you literally can't see it until you see it and you know it. So I used the camo patch under and just went over with a golden thread, and I just went like a cross star and run around it, and it kind of merges into the pattern, and you can't even see it if you don't know about it. So that's another way of mending where it becomes a part of it, and because it's just one tiny little decorative thing, it would look very odd if it would pop out, but this just merges right in there.
Hi, we're back. I wanted to show another example of just a running stitch. This is not the sashiko stitch. This is just really simply a running stitch. And what I did was just reinforce another patch behind it, and I went around, and then I kept going around using that running stitch that we reviewed before. But what I wanted to show you about this, used to be pant, now is short, is that we can also do little embroidery techniques that are super inspired and are really a great creative way to spend some time. So from there, I went into this whole tree, which kind of morphed around the camo and sort of grew out of the pocket. And there used to be a stain over here on the side, so I was capturing and covering that stain. And then I started to think, well, what if I just wanted to write on my pants? And so, you know, maybe write some things and create some embroidery around that, you know, or I sort of fell in love with these little bumblebees. And yeah, there's just so many different things you can do, whether it's covering something up, a hole or a stain, or just, you know, utilizing what you already have around you. In terms of the actual item. It doesn't have to have the damaged men, it could just be an inspired embroidery. On this one was some bleach that I had spilled, and then I decided that I would sort of create some artwork around that, and so I actually used a brush and
put more bleach on it and created this flower, and then went in and did some embroidery stitches, which I'll share with you on the PDF, but basically it's the running stitch and it's a chain stitch. And again, I don't know any of these techniques. You just kind of go with it. I saw an example of a chain stitch, and once you get started, it's really pretty simple. So just be inspired. Hi. So these are a pair of shorts my sister gave me. They're her favorite shorts. I honestly can't believe she's been wearing them. And she really wants to continue to wear them, so I'm going to mend them for her. So the process I'm going to use on this is a patch mend, and I'm going to do most of it on the machine. So I'll take you through there, but you can see kind of the beginning of where we are. And there's many different holes. And what I want to show you just is some end finished product of some other patch mending that I've worked on. And I always use indigo thread. It's sort of a statement or signature stitch of mine. This is another idea of a machine stitch patch mend. And then actually I went on top and did a whip stitch of a hand stitch as well. So it's got machine stitch and hand stitch. And then this is a whole nother process we'll talk about later. So I'm going to move to the machine and we'll check back in. Get started. I just wanted to show you that I've created some patch lengths already to start the mend. In some of these areas I'm going to be doing an under patch. So I cut the strip of fabric to really cover this whole entire area and to reinforce it. And you'll see how I do that through the machine stitching. And then these pieces will be the under layer of here. So it's important to prep your materials before you get started, but of course you can always go back. I'm also going to be doing some mending on top using the machine. So I went ahead and I just used a square piece of fabric and I ironed it, the edges, because now I'm going to go on top with the machine stitch. So we see this reinforcement here, and this will be an over patch as opposed to an under patch. Okay? Now I'm ready to start my stitching on the machine. I've selected some threads. I'm using 2 different threads, but they're all within sort of a fatigue and surplus coloration. I'm going for more of a tonal stitch versus a high contrast stitch. So that's something to consider when selecting your thread colors to use. My machine is extremely old and it does not have a reverse or a back stitch, so I have to do a lot of turning and sewing. That's usually how I lock stitch when I start and finish. But it also enables me to get really artistic. So this mending process for me, it's kind of cathartic in that I really create the art through the stitch. Once I lay down the needle, I just continue on. It just is one long continuous sew, and you'll see through the end product what that ends up looking like, and it's really like a stitch art. So I encourage you just to have fun with it and be inspired. Okay, I'm back. So this is really an involved project. I just spent some time just to do half of it, so I can talk you through what I've done. So I started here and I did an external patch, and what I do is secure the outer edges, and then this is sort of like a stitch art, as you'll see on some of these other areas. I don't have a reverse on my industrial machine. It's a very, very old industrial machine. And so it really causes me to do some really creative stitchery and I get really inspired by it. So it's kind of become a signature of mine in my mending. So really what is most important is to secure all the different ends and the sides, and then you can cut across and really think about it as a reinforcement. It's reinforcing this pocket edge. So on this piece I took, there were so many holes and things that needed to be mended that I took a whole entire strip on the other side, and this is really one stitch, one thread. I just keep moving it and manipulating it and focusing again on capturing that area of the hole and securing around each side, and then cutting across it as well to reinforce, because there were a lot of little tiny holes along the way. And then I moved down here and we have this whole other section. So this is a separate piece. And on this one, I actually left this folded over because I like that it helps the discovery of what's underneath it. And I've used some camo print, so it's not quite contrasty, but it gives a really nice level of contrast. And again, I secure the outer edges first, and then I cut across that. And that's really going to hold for a very long time. And then I'll finish the rest later. I just want to start on another project so you can see. But I think they're actually much cuter than they were, right? We're happy with them. She's going to be super happy. Okay. I'm going to take a few minutes to walk you through the PDF so you can see what you have to utilize for future reference. The first stitch we'll review is the running stitch. In the first, we'll look at the pictures left to right. The picture on the left is a pair of jeans I've had forever, and I keep going back to them and just adding more of these running stitches. And the running stitch is a really simplistic stitch, and it's really just going above and below the fabric, in and out, usually in a straight line. And then the center one, I wanted to show that we could do it with a patch that's applied on top of something that you want to mend, a hole or something like that. Or you can do it underneath, like the one on either side. The camo running stitch was done pretty spaced apart, and then I've whip stitched the edges so there's, to sort of contain some of the fraying. The seat stitch is very similar to the running stitch in that it's an up and down movement with the needle and the thread or the yarn, whatever it is you're using, but it's more random, and it's taking small little pick stitches and sort of creating kind of an artwork around that. And it's not so much about the artwork, but it's really about securing whatever it is that fabric is you have underneath. On the photograph to the far left, I've used a piece of jersey underneath, knit jersey, which is nice to mend with when I'm mending denim sometimes, if I know it's not going to be an area that is something that needs to structurally be kept intact. What I like about it is that it has a little give to it, and it does hold the hole, but if it's, you're going to be on your knees working or something, then it wouldn't be the strongest thing to use underneath to mend. In the picture in the center, I have also incorporated a cross stitch in there. And again, it's totally random. There is no great technique here. It's just really a visual thing. And mainly what you want to do is make sure that fabric underneath is secured and that you've secured it far enough around the edges, the border of where the tear or the hole was, so that it doesn't rip any further. On the right, all the way on the right, is the Carhartt piece, and that truly did become just this, kind of sweet little, it reminded me of like a dandelion or something. So again, it's whatever you're inspired to do, just to maintain the structure is what you're trying to build on.
of whatever that hole or whatever the mend is. The next stitch is the whip stitch, and this is a really simple stitch as well, and I've used it in different ways here. The scarf on the indigo scarf on the left is actually a Mali, it's a mud cloth from Mali, West Africa, and it's vintage, so there was many holes in this where it was broken apart along the seam, and I thought that it would be an interesting way to mend it with some embroidery floss, and so I just whip stitched it, and then I sort of ended it in a flower, and I did this throughout the whole scarf in different colors. It came out really pretty. The next one, I incorporated the whip stitch just as a finishing detail to have some extra security along with sewing the patch. So I did some machine stitch on the patch, and then I finished it with a whip stitch in the indigo thread. On the right is, on the camo, is a whip stitch around the actual mend, but to secure the fabric underneath the hole of the mend, I did a running stitch just around where the hole was, and then I used the whip stitch to really hold down all of the loose frayed ends. Next we have needle weaving. The item on the left is a really beautiful organic cotton, very fine weave camisole shirt I had for years, and I got a hole in it, and I didn't want to put something behind it because it was very lightweight already, and I thought that it would make it too structural. So I started to do this running stitch, and I made sure to go far out from where the actual hole was, and then that way when I got to that hole area, I could actually weave with the indigo thread that I was using. So there's nothing behind this. You can actually see behind it, and I can tell you I have washed this 1,000,000 times, nothing, in no special way, and it's really held up. And I left those, extending strings with the knot on them because I thought it was interesting, and yeah, that's how it looks. But part of the needle weaving is that you're creating a warp and a weft, which is how when you weave, that's the direction of the yarn. It's either going up and down or it's going across. So you want to start in one direction and do all of the warp, which is the up and down, with the running stitch, and then when you go to do the weft, which is the right to left, the horizontal stitch, you could then take the needle and weave it in and out of your warp yarns, and that's what creates the weave. In the center picture, Nikita did this piece using an embroidery floss, and she used 2 different colors, and it was this beautiful lace, and it was torn apart from the front of the bodice, which was, like a cotton poplin. And I think it looks super interesting, and it really just adds to the visual aesthetic for me. And then all the way on the right is another portion of that mud cloth from Mali that I shared with you a few slides ago. And on this one, it had another area that was not just ripped from the seam, but that, there was a hole in the fabric. So I used this technique just to hold this all together in an artful way. The machine stitch is probably how I started to mending jeans mainly. And I selected these 3 shots because I thought it was interesting to kind of talk through what could happen with this machine stitch. On the first one, all the way to the left, it was the whole crotch blew out, and so I combined 2 different fabrics underneath to create this patch, which makes it more visual. And you'll see on the stitching, how you kind of are creating this sort of stitch art that I referenced during the workshop. But you can see what the end result is, and it's just interesting, and it's, kind of draws your eye there, clearly, that we're not hiding the mend. It is definitely a visual mend. On the second piece, on the sweater, normally you would do some darning or something like that, but I wanted to do something quick, and I just experimented with this, and I actually really liked the way it came out. This was a beautiful wool sweater, that cardigan, and it was all eaten up with moth holes. And so I started it on the machine, and I wanted to include this center picture just to give you an idea of when I get started doing this. I want to capture all the corners just to secure the patch underneath. And on this one, I used a piece of jersey from an old t-shirt because I liked the coloration to combine with the camel color sweater, the burgundy knit, and then the indigo thread for sewing. And then on the right is another section of that on the elbow. So you can see how it comes out as the finished product, because clearly in the center one there was more stitching to be done on that, but I just wanted to show you it's important to anchor all corners surrounding your the area that you're needing to mend. This is a continuation of the machine mend, and just more visuals and ideas of what you can accomplish in different areas which usually need to be mended, which are pocket corners, mainly pocket corners, and along seam areas. So it's those high stress points. So you can see through some of these visuals. I've done external patches as well as underneath patches, and you can see how you can really have some fun creating more of this like inspired stitching, because I have no plan as I go to do it, but I just keep rotating the garment and going in different directions. And my main emphasis is to try to secure around where that hole and that mend needs to be, and also incorporate some of the good area that doesn't need to be mended, so you give it more structure and it won't tear apart. So this is using embroidery to mend. Gabe did this piece on the left, which is really, I love it. And he's incorporated a few different of the stitches, but we've used embroidery floss on this. And he started to do it with the he whipped all around the edge just to contain it of the hole, and then he placed his patch underneath and did the running stitch to connect it all, and that's that tan or tan color yarn. And Nikita did the same thing on this sweater piece, where she did a interesting embroidery stitch around the circumference of the circle, and then she cut across to really just hold it all together. And then all the way to the far right is a center back neck, and it's where the label was, if you see the two sides of the blue, and she whip stitched that together, and then she chain stitched across and then created these lovely little raindrops, and it just made a really nice embroidery. So it's something interesting and a sort of an inconspicuous spot. Embellishing stains is a great way to either draw attention to them or cover them up. So we've experimented with a few different techniques and variations. On the upper left-hand side is some bleach stains, which we took a little further and actually painted more bleach on to create this sort of flower motif that we then accented with different stitch embroidery colors. On the slide, the picture next to it, Gabe has highlighted some paint stains and covered them up or accented them just with stitching around them. On the camo pant are some bumblebees hiding some other stains. And the same with the embroidery chain stitch that we're doing on a camo, where we had some paint and then we actually used a stencil to make some letters, and then embroider around the letters. The last technique we want to review is surface redesign. And on these short photos, you can see there was some paint splatter. And what we did was just take it a little bit further by adding some print to it, which was with a wood block that we rolled ink onto, and then some more spattered paint. So you can get really creative with this, whether you're experimenting with some bleach or some other paint or some other type of material to really change the surface of what you already have. The last 2 pages are a great visual tool for future reference of some basic stitches and some novelty stitches. The novelty stitches are really perfect for some embroidery, and so they'll be good tools for you in the future. Thanks for sticking with us to the end. We had a lot of fun putting this together, and I want to give a big thanks to Gabe and Nikita, my fellow menders. And we hope that you're inspired and that you'll share this with friends and family.